Hey guys, Mike Nevers here. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Welcome into On Deck. I'm Tyler Redmond. While you're here, make sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and hit the bell for notifications so that you can be notified every time I drop something new. So with everything going on, with all the controversy around baseball, I wanted to kind of take a second to look back instead of looking at what we got going on right now. Obviously, there's possibility of not having a season in 2020. There's possibility of having an abbreviated season. So I wanted to take a look back at the last time something like this happened, specifically 1994, also known as the strike year. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you all the things on the field that happened, all the things off the field that happened as consequences of not having a season that year, and kind of just show you all the effects of the strike year in 1994. So here we go. First off, the Montreal Expos had a dream year that year. They were first in their division, 6 games ahead of the Braves. They had a record of 74-40 when the strike began. Let it be known that they had the second lowest payroll in all of Major League Baseball that year too. The streak ended their dreams of being a World Series contender, but also began their decline financially, which ultimately led the franchise to move to Washington, D.C. and become the Nationals. Also that year, Hall of Famer Ken Griffey Jr., while on the Mariners, led the league in homers with 40. He won a Gold Glove and a Silver Slugger Award. He was quoted as saying, "We picked a bad season to have a good year." Hall of Famer Frank Thomas, a very similar boat, while on the White Sox, led the league in on-base percentage and slugging percentage. He even won the American League MVP. At the time of the strike, he was only 2 homers behind Ken Griffey Jr., with 38 total home runs in 1994. He was quoted as saying, "I've had a career year, but I'm not going to finish it." Tony Gwynn, Mr. Padre, this is interesting. He had a chance of breaking 400. The last time that had been done was obviously Ted Williams. It is yet to be done to this day. Ted Williams did that in 1941. Tony Gwynn ended the 1994 season with an average of .394, just 6 points away from 400. No telling what he could have done had the year continued. Matt Williams of the San Francisco Giants had a chance of breaking the single-season home run record held by Roger Maris. He ended his season with 43 homers, on pace with breaking the record. Carlos Baerga, while on the Indians, had a 2-year streak of having at least 20 homers, 200 hits, and 100 RBIs as a second baseman. He could not continue that streak due to the strike. Kevin Mitchell, Julio Franco, and Shane Mack, all those guys are .325 hitters. They all opted to move and play in Japan in 1995 instead of returning to Major League Baseball. To me, this has to be one of the saddest impacts, what I'm about to tell you. The Yankees had the best record in the American League, and the strike likely cost Don Mattingly an earlier postseason debut. He ended up appearing the year after, falling to the Mariners in the ALDS, and this was one of the biggest headlines at the time. So as a Braves fan, I keep thinking about what we could have lost this year already. You know, Acuna wanted to go 50-50. That was all over the headlines in the beginning of spring training. He wants to go 50-50. Could it happen? Obviously, the idea of a 162-game season is out of the picture, which is a shame for any young star trying to make an impact on baseball history. I think there will be a lot of questions no matter what happens this year. What would have happened had they played all 162? What would have happened had they played a season at all? Is it a legitimate season? So many questions, and I don't have the right answers for it. A lot of people that are voicing their opinions are putting their thoughts out there. I'm not going to pick a side in this video, but I can compare what history has told us. So let's take a look at the owner side of things real quick, which is the money. More importantly, the effects on money. So in 1994, we're going to talk about some specific things in 1994 where money was a factor. As I mentioned earlier, the Montreal Expos were drastically affected by missing a season at their peak. And though these teams that are about to follow didn't take as hard of a hit, they got theirs too. The Cleveland Indians' inaugural season at Jacobs Field was in 1994. Their owner at the time was forced to sell all souvenirs labeled inaugural season at half price. The Colorado Rockies were completing their last season at Mile High Stadium. They were on pace to break the season attendance record of all time, which they got the year prior, but they didn't get the opportunity. The Minnesota Twins. Now, this is kind of bizarre, but it happened, so hear me out. The Minnesota Twins traded Dave Winfield to the Cleveland Indians for a player to be named later. Then the strike happened, so this remained unchanged. Now, the official statement was that Winfield was sold. Well, what actually happened was that team management on both sides went to dinner and the Indians picked up the tab. So for all intents and purposes, Dave Winfield was traded for dinner. So those are all the effects that, money had during the season at the time, the immediate effects. Here's the problem with what's going on right now. The thing I'm worried about is what happened after the strike and what I think could happen after this season. After the strike, attendance in 1995 was down dramatically. Ratings in 1995 were down dramatically. For perspective, in 1994, there were 50,010,016 in total attendance. In 1995, there were 50,416,880 in total attendance. Now you may be saying to yourself, Tyler, well that's an improvement. Hold on, because in 1994, there were only 113 games. To be fair, in 1995, there were only 144 as well, but take a look, that's 31 less games and only 400,000 apart in attendance. The greatest effect for any baseball fan will be on the record books. And as much as people like to put an asterisk next to people that have been caught using steroids, 1972, 1981, 1994, and now 2020 will always have an asterisk next to the season for me. Not because they're illegitimate, but because they're incomplete. And that's not good for anybody. So that's all I have here today. I plan to talk to Kevin McAlphin later on, either tomorrow or later this week, about what's going on. Kind of let him break it down. He's a little bit closer to the game than I am, so I'm going to let him break it down. Got some more exciting stuff coming up, but I want to hear from you. Tell me what you think about what's going on in baseball. Are you mad? Because every baseball fan I've talked to is really mad right now about arguing over money. And also, let me know how you feel about everything in the comments section. Like this video so more fans can see it, and subscribe to this channel. It really helps me out. Also, check out some of my other stuff. You guys have been really good about watching the stuff I've been putting out throughout quarantine, and I really appreciate that. So go make sure you watch those, and I'll see you next time here on deck.